Good afternoon. I want to welcome you all to this afternoon's ceremony for the grand opening of this building. This is a huge mile marker for us as an organization. We're going to start off this afternoon with Pastor Tony from Dinky Memorial Lutheran Church. He's going to lead us in our invocation. Pastor Tony.
Let us pray. Creating God, we gather here at the Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans Facility to give thanks for the resources and people you have provided for our veterans. As they have faithfully served their country, may we as a society faithfully serve them by providing them the opportunity for fellowship, for recreation. Be present through this agency and those who share their time and talents, that your wisdom, compassion, patience, and peace may enwrap all those who pass through these doors. Thank you for this facility. Thank you for the people who have made this possible, and thank you for the past, present, and future support and guidance that will be offered through this agency. Bless us now with your presence through this celebration and throughout this day, and make the work done here known throughout the Commonwealth so that all may benefit. In your name we pray. Amen.
Our next speaker is Lisa Wetzel. She is the president of Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. She was born and raised here in Carbon County, residing her majority of her life in Bowmanstown. She is a combat veteran of Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, having served with the 402nd Military Police at the POW camp of the 3rd Enclosure during Operation Storm and Desert Shield. She served from 1987 to 1995 with the United States Army Reserve. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Adverse University of Florida. She's employed as a registered nurse with Lehigh Valley Health Network. She's married to Jason Wetzel with 2 daughters, Jenna and Sabrina. With further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Lisa Wetzel.
Good afternoon, honored guests, family, and friends. We appreciate your coming out today for our open house. Thank you, Ryan, for the introduction. I am a fourth generation combat veteran. My great-grandfather, his name is John Reinhardt. He served in the Spanish-American War in World War I, where he got the Purple Heart for being severely injured in Vassal. My grandfather, Erwin T. Reinhardt, served in World War II. He helped liberate several concentration camps. I had several uncles who also served: Thomas Reinhardt, Robert Fenstermaker, and Dale Fenstermaker. I enlisted in the Army Reserves January of my senior year of high school. I served, like Ryan said, with the 402nd MP Camp, 3rd Enclosure, during the Desert Storm at the age of 20. The age my youngest daughter is now, and it's kind of scary to know what I went through, to know what she went through. It's simply amazing. I first became involved with Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans after they started lifting the restrictions for COVID at the Wheels of Freedom car show. I had a car entered in the car show, and so that's how we became there. Ryan had asked me to bring my car out because I was a vet, and they had did an interview with WNEP. Then at Thanksgiving later on that year, Ryan had given my husband and I a call to help out a fellow veteran who was having some struggles. We had put Thanksgiving on hold with our families that year, and we went to go help this veteran. We took him to get phoned, we took him for his mail, whatever he needed, we helped provide for him that day. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to be on the board of directors and eventually became president of the board of directors for Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. In the few short years I have been a part of POV, we have come a long way. In our mission to help reduce veteran suicide through the healing nature, camaraderie, and that is developed through outdoor activities such as camping, hunting, and fishing. We have helped provide veterans in a way to connect with each other. We have also helped veterans, their caregivers, and their families reconnect. We used to have monthly meetings that were on the deck of my camper or through phone calls. Since then, we have obtained this office, and we have increased contact with each other to help our veterans, and we have met with veterans and or their families here in the office, allowing us to help them with difficulties they may have in obtaining benefits they are entitled to. We have started a food bank that's out there in the kitchen area of the office, as we have had several veterans come to us over the last several years, looking to asking us to help with food. So we have started that. We are also working to help secure housing for a homeless veteran, and we helped the family obtain a tombstone for their loved one. Being a nonprofit organization, we operate primarily from grants and donations. Over the past several years, we have received grants from the Stabler Foundation and Pennsylvania State Grant Fund for Veterans. It was an honor to be chosen by them for their generosity to us. We also have members of the community and other organizations that have given us donations. We also hold several fundraisers a year, and that is what helps keep us afloat during these difficult times with rebounding from COVID. So thank you for everybody for attending. I do appreciate it.
Sorry, it's hot here. So, very abruptly, our county DA, Mike Greek, was here. Unfortunately, a emergency took place that he had to go take care of. Unfortunately, horrible circumstances, but he did leave me with his speech. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll get into my speech. This is what Mike wrote. Veteran struggles may be loud or silent, all-consuming or shortly passing during service or at time. They may last a moment or a lifetime. The United States and our men and women have faced 2 decades of continuous war. They have fought bravely and honorably, as they've always do. But wars never really come to an end for those who have lived with the repercussions. Veterans experience physical losses like missing limbs and broken bodies, but they also experience emotional loss as well. Post-traumatic stress, depression, and substance abuse. There is also a cost to children and families who live and grow up with a person who hasn't fully adjusted to returning home. While the battlefield may be where the wounds take place, the home front is the real consequences that are felt. Our military culture has a difficult time to recognizing pain. Admitting it is seen as a weakness, and service members are programmed to ignore it. It is reflected in catchphrases such as embrace the suck. This internalization and bearing of feelings and emotions only seems to make those wounds fester and never truly meaningfully heal. It is through programs such as those offered by Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans that healing power of nature and outdoors improve the mental health of veterans and help to create the connection and social bonds necessary to reconnect with themselves, their families, their friends, and hopefully become a little bit more whole again. Part of our military oath is to leave no fallen comrade behind. That doesn't simply apply to the battle. It means here at home as well. When we see other veterans who haven't fully come home, it is our duty and our obligation to care for our fellow brothers and sisters in arms. We live by a motto, duty, honor, country. As General Douglas MacArthur stated in his speech to West Point cadets, the hallowed words reinadvertently dictated what ought to be, what you can be, what you will be. They are rally points to build courage when courage seems to fail, to regain faith when there seems to be a little cause for faith. to create hope when hope becomes forlorn. That is why we are here today with Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans, to build courage, regain faith, and to create hope in our fellow veterans. May God look with favor on our endeavors as you embark with our righteous mission of caring for our veterans from our new location. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America. I think that's fitting. I think it's a true statement. I started this organization back in 2014. Many of the people I've served with in this room. Certainly, there are struggles to readjustment on the home front that we continue to battle. For years later, from all the way back to World War II, World War I, and continuing forward, certainly those struggles continue. Seems to be the same repeated theme time and time again. When I came home, certainly I had my own struggles, and to sit there and say that I didn't would be only a lie. But I will tell you that one of the things that actually was a huge factor was going back to hunting. This organization actually started from a Vietnam veteran from the Navy, family friend. His name is Marty Evans. I came home, and it was, I would say it was probably the following year. He had said to me, we were out talking, and he had said to me, I think you really need to go back to hunting, and you really need to find your way again. And I did. Went out that year and shot a 6-point buck. And you reflect while you're out there in the woods. It's not necessarily about shooting an animal. It's really about the reflection time period. And what I really learned was that there was a healing process to it. So I took that and I thought, well, if it worked for me and it's working for me, maybe it'll work for other fellow people. So I started having conversations. In fact, my original conversation was with Nick DeLigio, who just retired recently from the Pennsylvania National Guard. Nick and I got talking on the idea of getting a bunch of veterans together to go hunting. What we found is that in order to overcome the abilities of costs and getting onto state game lands, we would have to be a nonprofit. I happened to be in a conversation one night with Dory Purdy from Jim Thorpe, and she had told me about the struggles her father had during Vietnam. He was a Navy veteran, and for years up until the day he died, he had struggled immensely with post-traumatic stress. And she said, Ryan, I think maybe you found a niche in something that'll work for veterans. And that is really how this really started. One thing led to another. I learned very quickly in this that it wasn't just veterans. It was families as well. I had talked to a family from the Heighton area who had told me they didn't know what post-traumatic stress was. They didn't know what traumatic brain injury was. They didn't know what depression was, and they certainly didn't know what to do for their child before he committed suicide. He served in the Air Force for 4 years, struggled immensely with drugs and alcohol afterwards, and eventually succumbed to suicide. And that's really what this is about. So I took the idea of we have veterans and we have families who don't know what to do. And I formulated a way to bring back the family unit after deployments or after service. And I found that while veterans learned that they're not alone, the families learned as well that they're not alone in the struggle after service or a combat tour. And it was eye-opening. It was very eye-opening to see that there were spouses. I think to an event we did in Northumberland County at a campground, and I remember one of the wives sitting there, and one of the wives, her husband was a Marine. He'd done 20 years, and I believe he did 3 multiple combat tours. And it was then when she had this aha moment of, oh, I'm not alone in this. And that's why, really, what we do. I had another Marine, he had done 3 tours to Iraq. He was in some of the thickest battles in Fallujah. And it had been almost 4 years that they had been home, and they'd never done anything as a family. And we were at the Lehigh Valley Zoo, and Miranda had put together baskets for the kids, simply coloring books and sticker books. And I remember seeing a 6-year-old sit there. You thought it was the highlight of everything you could ever thought. Since then, they've gone on other family events. Certainly, his wife has learned that, you know, the struggle is not just her with the complications after war. And certainly, he has severe traumatic brain injury, certainly complex post-traumatic stress disorder. The third part to our organization is caregivers. We hear that veterans commit suicide, and there's 22 a day. But we've learned also that the people who are taking care of these veterans are now committing suicide themselves. So with that, in the last 2 years, I've gone back to the board. I've worked with other organizations to bring services and retreats, particularly respite and care. Last year, we were in Mansfield. We had a veteran wife there. She has attended caregiver retreat weekends. And Jason and Lisa and I were there. And she said to us, she said, I don't want PowerPoint presentations. I don't need PowerPoint presentations on what services are out there. She said, I don't need yoga. She said, I don't need a massage. She said, I don't need someone to sit there and tell me for 8 hours what services are available. She says, I know that. She says, that's a simple phone call to the VA. She said, what I really need is just simply 72 hours of true, genuine respite care. And I thought, my initial thought to it was, how am I explaining this to donors? How do I explain to donors that this is just all they really need? And it made sense to me. It clicked with me that it made sense. So I went back last year. We went to, we were fortunate that the Donald and Dorothy Stabler Foundation, along with the State Veterans Trust Fund, provided us with money to do that. And I was, to be honest with you, when I submitted that application, I was very hesitant because that seems very simple, but sometimes simplicity is a lot more than anything difficult. So where are we at and where do we go? Well, one, we encompass 67 counties and 800,000 veterans. I will tell you that the last 2 years have been the most difficult logistically. I have had more board meetings than I care to have. Colonel Farrar can attest to the idea that none of us liked meetings, and so can Missy, that we did not like meetings during our deployment to Iraq in 2009. But I've learned that sometimes it is an evil necessary. So with that, we overcame those challenges, and there was a lot of challenges. We had planned out, typically in January, we plan out all our events, calendar year, and it was railroaded in February. In fact, the weekend that the pandemic broke, we were at the inn up in Starlight, and we were having breakfast, and in the New York Times, I remember it, Chris Johnson was our board president at the time, and Chris said, this is going to turn into a pandemic. And I said, it's nothing. Well, 3 weeks later, we were in a 4.5-hour board meeting figuring out how logistically we were going to still make programs work and still service the veterans and families that need service. And then on top of it, we had waves of the pandemic, and then we had the Capitol riots. And I will tell you that in all the years that I've been doing this, that I did not have a contingency plan to dealing with that. My phone for 3 days after that blew up. I had everything from new enlistees to 3-star generals who were retired calling me saying, I need to get away. This is too overwhelming. Then we have the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And that sent veterans spiraling. In fact, I drove one night to Williamsport to a veteran at 2 o'clock in the morning because he was not doing well. Thankfully, I got him to the VA, convinced him to go to the VA and sign himself in, and since then he is doing well. Those events have not made this any easier. We now have inflation. The number of services has increased dramatically. Currently, we have a number of veterans who have been reaching out throughout, just not only in this county, but in other counties, and it has made it extremely difficult. We're doing the best that we can. 2023 holds some good promises. This building was much needed. The way we were doing operations was not conducive to our mission. I've learned that you need to have a central place. Obviously, we have 2 computers over here. Part of that is that veterans will have access to the internet for VA files. VA claim files for disability certainly will help them with that, employment, whatever else they may need. Additionally, we plan on having staff members. Part of the budget is a significant increase from about $150,000 to almost $669,000 for 2023. That includes 5 staff members, a case manager, a program manager, a veteran service officer, myself, and I'm forgetting the other one, slipping my mind. We realize and recognize that the need for services is there. This year we plan not only to go back to the Stablers. They've been grateful to us for the last 3 years. They've provided us with over $175,000 for our operations. We have not, and I will admit this, we have not pushed out our services in the last 7 years fully extended because I don't want to become overwhelmed to the point that we don't have the staff to take care of them. Myself and Lisa both work full-time jobs, as well as Jason and Keith. We all work full-time. This is volunteer. None of us get paid. So the only best thing at this point is to have staff members. We are committed to our mission, and our mission is really to reduce and eliminate suicide. I don't talk about the idea of suicide very often. Carbon County is the highest veteran suicide in the state. And certainly, I think it will continue a trend, and certainly we have to work together collaboratively with county and other organizations to make that work, to reduce it. There's a lot of social economical factors that are involved with suicide. That is why we've embarked from an outdoor recreational theme, peer-to-peer, and getting veterans to understand they're not alone, to secondary services of providing case management, or as I call it, crisis management. A lot of times they call when they're in crisis management. The socioeconomical factors play a huge role in veteran suicide. When you have a veteran who is unemployed, doesn't have transportation, doesn't have housing, has food insecurity, and has other legal issues, such as currently we're working with a veteran who has a discharge that needs to be overturned, and it makes it difficult for that veteran to obtain services. So those socioeconomical, and I call them secondary factors, play a key role in reducing veteran suicide. Certainly those factors have been identified here in the county and certainly across the Commonwealth as well. I think we offer hope. Some of the days and some of the people that we deal with, I have seen veterans who have come out, and particularly one veteran comes to mind. He did Afghanistan and he did Iraq. When he got on the vessel, he was in a bad place, without a doubt. He hadn't slept probably for 3 days, and 3 days he might have had 4 hours of sleep. By the end of that trip, it was a different outlook. I can say today that he is doing well, a lot better than he was doing in the past. Sometimes you have to hear really what other veterans have gone through and understanding that they're not alone. That is why our motto is, we stand together, you're not alone. It's certainly frustrating at times, I will admit that, in some of the veterans. You want to help them, but they don't want to help themselves. And you can only help someone if they don't want to help themselves. 2023, like I said, looks hopeful as an organization. We continue to look, this is a three-part phase of a strategic plan, not only this building in Eastern. At some point, we do have drawings for a 22,000 square foot retreat center that was done by a Navy veteran out of Ambler, PA. We hope to build that at some point, but that is a long process in building rapport and trust with donors to secure that funding. Certainly, once that happens, certainly that opens a lot of doors in order to help a lot more veterans. And then hopefully we'll have an office on the western side of Pennsylvania. I do want to say thank you to my board. They put in a lot of hours. Lisa works full time. She probably puts in 40 to 60 hours a week. I work full time night shift just as her. So there are mornings when we don't get to go to sleep until noon. Sometimes we go to work with 4 hours of sleep in order to get what we need to get done, particularly when it comes to our veteran. Jason, thank you for doing everything you've done for the last 2 weeks. This poor guy has embraced everything the last 2 weeks with work and our schedule. I unfortunately had to pick up extra shifts, and he's covered down. And I don't think Keith is back. Keith went to run. He had to do some errands for lunch, and I want to say thank you. Mom, thank you for being an awesome mom. Thank you for being a single mom, and thank you for everything. Certainly, I want to thank you for your service. I know some of your complications right now are from your time in service, and certainly we'll get through that. Aunt Miss, Uncle Scott, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done over the years. Aunt Diane, same thing. To Missy Singer, to Chad. Chad, if you're upset with anything, you need to take it up with my mom. Same with you, sir. Missy, if you're upset with anything, you need to take it up with the Creator. Missy and Chad, thank you for your leadership over the years while I was in the service. It's an honor to have served with you, and it is certainly, you've taught me a lot. Chad, I know I gave you a run for your money at the end there, but I certainly appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here today. Sir, I have a bad habit of saying Colonel Ferraro because that's how I know him. I appreciate you traveling from 40 Town Gap. Colonel Ferraro is the Executive Deputy Secretary for Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. I'm proud to say that he has served with me and was my brigade commander. Hold on here. Mr. Mark Ferraro assumed duties as Executive Deputy Secretary for the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs on March 12, 2021. He serves as the primary advisor to the Adjutant General on all activities that relate to the Office of the Deputy Adjutant General for Veteran Affairs, the Office of Administration, the Office of Facilities and Engineering, the Keystone State Challenge Academy, the Public Affairs Office, the Policy Planning and Legislation Affairs Office. Prior to assuming this position, Mr. Ferraro served as the Deputy Facilities and Engineering, Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. Mr. Ferraro spent his career in the United States Army and the Pennsylvania Army National Guard as the active duty guardsman. He began his career in February 1982, enlisting in the United States Army. In 1987, he was commissioned as a distinguished military graduate from the Army ROTC program at Widener University as a second lieutenant in the Military Police Corps. He has served as a variety of operational and leadership positions in both the active Army and the Pennsylvania Army National Guard as an infantry officer, military police officer, and a cavalry officer. May the cavalry live on. He has held leadership positions at all levels of command, from platoon to division, in both peacetime and during combat operations. He was a platoon leader during operations in Operation Just Cause, Panama, and served as brigade commander, 5th 6th Striker Brigade Combat Team during Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2009. He has also served as a G3 operations officer for the 28th Infantry Division during peacekeeping operations in Kosovo. Additionally, he served as a battalion commander, 1st Battalion, 111th Infantry Regiment, where he deployed the battalion in support of hurricane relief operations in Louise after Hurricane Katrina. Colonel Ferraro has served as the Chief of Staff for the 28th Infantry and G3 Chief of Staff and Acting Deputy Adjutant General, Army. Joint Force Headquarters, Pennsylvania Army National Guard. His final assignment upon retirement from the Army was Assistant Division Commander, Maneuver 28th Infantry Division, Pennsylvania Army National Guard. He is a graduate of the United States Army Drill Sergeant School, Basic Airborne Course, Pathfinder Course, Cavalry Leaders Course, Command and General Staff College, and the United States Army War College. He is a qualified military police officer, infantry officer, and armor officer. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting and a Master's of Arts degree in strategic studies and executive leadership. Mr. Ferraro's awards and decorations. Okay. He is married to the former Crystal Delonzo and has 2 sons, Stephen and Christopher. He resides in Myerstown, Pennsylvania. It is with my honor to welcome Mr. Mark Ferraro.
Thank you, everyone. And Ryan, thank you. Lisa, thank you for inviting me to speak here today. Laura, she's my battle buddy, one of my battle buddies at DMVA. She's the Deputy Adjutant General Army for the Pennsylvania Army National Guard as well. As you all heard, Ryan and I deployed together, as well as Sergeant Singer, retired, and Sergeant Major Chad Rhodes, he and I were just reminiscing when we first met in 1998. So we go way back. Sergeant Major Finucane is here, retired as well. We served together. But Ryan, thank you for your service, and more importantly, thank you for what you're doing today, along with the entire organization here. As he said, we have just about 800,000 veterans in the Commonwealth, spread throughout. We got the 4th largest population in the country for veterans, so big task that you all have. I think this facility is the embodiment of what you do. I mean, outdoors, let's just look out the window, right? And the motto of "You are not alone, we stand together" truly embodies everything that you do. I think setting this office up, having this, as you said, without a base of operation, it's truly very difficult to be able to service the veterans and provide the services that you need. So congratulations on coming this far and getting this together. Fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the title of veteran. It's a very small and elite group who are willing to sacrifice all in defense of our nation. Our democracy depends on the willingness of its finest men and women to step forward, serve, and dedicate themselves to a greater cause, the cause of protecting our freedoms. In a letter to all servicemen who were honorably discharged during World War II, President Truman foreshadowed the impending importance veterans would have in our country. And he wrote, as one of the nation's finest, veterans undertook the most severe task one can be called upon to perform. Because you demonstrated the fortitude, resourcefulness, and calm judgment necessary to carry out that task, we now look to your leadership and example in furthering and exalting our country in peace. So they turn to veterans to serve even afterwards. And when you come back, as you've heard, they face crisis. So it's veterans helping veterans. I think that's really the embodiment of what he said there. So as a nation and a commonwealth, we must ensure that the service and sacrifice of our veterans are never overlooked or forgotten. We now have the largest population of young veterans since the Vietnam War after 20 years of persistent conflict. We owe it to these brave men and women to ensure that their transition to civilian life and their needs are taken care of. All of our veterans are skilled professional in one way or another based upon what they learned in the military. They have unique experiences that make them an invaluable contribution to to any organization, but more importantly to our communities. It's important that we don't forget that. Veterans are a very diverse population. They're a great credit to all races, genders, and creeds, and their common commitment to defense of country binds them together and unifies them together, and that goes to the heart of what it means to not only being a veteran, but also being an American. Veterans serve in all aspects of our community. And most times you don't know what their struggles are, whether they're a teacher, a first responder, a government official. They continue to serve while hiding some of the issues that they've served, that they obtained during their service. Their selfless service is truly unquestionable. For over 2 centuries, our veterans of our nation have been willing to serve and sacrifice for a cause that they love and believe in, and this has not changed. As such, it's imperative that we ensure we do everything we can to meet their needs. As I said, we have the 4th largest population of veterans in our nation. And that population, while we have a large portion of it that's new and young, the majority of our veteran population in the Commonwealth is very old. And we lose more veterans every year than any other state right now in the nation because of our age. We at the department are proud to work alongside organizations like you by being able to give you money out of the Veterans Trust Fund. And I want you to know the Veterans Trust Fund is not appropriated money. It's money that we go out and we seek through donations, or through when you do your vehicle registration, you can do a checkoff, and through other fundraising activities. So the money that we give out is through donations. It's not appropriated money. So in closing, let me say 2 things. One, September is Suicide Awareness Month, for those that don't know. And the suicide statistics for veterans are staggering. As Ryan said, it's about 21, 22 veterans a day die by suicide. If you're a veteran struggling internally, please know that you're not alone. There are many people that care, and there are many resources available. You just have to step up and say something. And, you know, veterans are proud people, you know. We traditionally don't get up and say when we have an issue. You know, I will not hesitate to stand up in a room, and 4 months after I got back from Iraq, I went to mental health counseling because I needed it, and it helped. And I tell anybody if they want to sit here and call me all kinds of names because I went to mental health counseling, I'll be the first one to punch you in the throat. So. That's Colonel Ferraro. Okay. So, go. There's nothing wrong with it. Plus, my wife told me to. Anyway, but there truly are. It's not a sign of weakness. It truly is not. It's a sign of strength. And for those that don't know, there's now a 988 crisis hotline, so you don't have to dial some 800 number and try to remember all these numbers. 988, then press 1. That's it. So again, Ryan, Lisa, thank you so much for asking me to be here. Again, congratulations on your accomplishments on opening. I wish you all the success. I want you to know the department is here to partner with you and assist you in any way you can. And we look forward to all the great activities and support that you're going to give our veterans. Thank you all for coming out today. May God bless you all of our veterans, all our service members and their families, and this great country. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I do want to make a quick note that, yes, Chad Edmondson Foundation has, they are donors as well of Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. I think we were one of the very first organizations to receive money. The Chad Edmondson family has the Chad Edmondson Memorial Foundation based out of the Altoona area. So I did invite them today. Unfortunately, they had pre-planned vacation, so they could not make it. His dad and stepmom, or his mom couldn't make it either. They were both all on vacation. Hold on here, I got papers up here. So our next speaker is a very familiar face here at Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. He's a veteran. I recognize him as our face to our organization. Chauncey, we all refer him to Monty Burley. Chauncey Burley is a native of Louisville, Kentucky. Mr. Burley joined the United States Marine Corps in 1990. Mr. Burley attended the Marine Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, followed by the deployment as part of Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Mr. Burley is an avid poet writer, having been featured by Right Face of Lancaster. Mr. Burley is an avid hunter and fisherman. He has become, as I said, a familiar face of Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans and has become an amazing brother and friend to many of us here at Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. Monty, I don't know what I would do with you some days. Sometimes he's my phone call when things go awry. And certainly he's been on a number of events with our organization. I want to thank you. You're not only an amazing brother in arms, but you're an amazing person, and I greatly appreciate you coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to, without any more to do, and with a great honor, Mr. Chauncey Burley.
Call me Monty. Because if you pick up a phone and you ask for Chauncey, I'm like, hey, wrong number. All right? Yes, Lisa and I have had some of the same sand blown in our faces, which probably came back to blowing some of your faces. And I love you for it. I first found Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans by way of a dear friend of ours, Bart Tafaro. I met him through another veterans organization, Donald Trout Unlimited Veteran Partnership. I was the vet to walk up on him because he looked like he could use someone to talk to. He had never fly fished before. He literally looked like I did the first time I went out fly fishing. But he actually had the right equipment to do it. It's sad to see a man out there with a spin cast reel, the button push, trying to fly fish. I look like an idiot. But I caught a fish, so I thought I was doing something right. But anyway, I, as a child, wanted so much to learn to hunt. And because I grew up Marine Corps, never had that mentor in my life. And years after I got out of the Marine Corps and very, very nearly became one of those suicide statistics, unbeknownst to Bart, he became that mentor that I needed and wanted so much. And so many times while out in the deer bush, I'm sitting there thinking about some of the things that he pointed out, some of the things that he told me to focus on and build from. And when I was first invited to deer camp, I had no idea what the heck deer camp was. And so I was like, am I gonna need a sleeping bag and a freaking tent? And he was like, maybe the sleeping bag, but don't worry about the tent. And at that time, I only owned a 9mm pistol. And Bart outfitted me head to toe to include a gun, a hunting rifle. And every evening when we came back, he was like, what did you learn? Which was ironically a phrase that my mom would ask me every time she whooped this ass when I got out of line. So I was very forthcoming with an honest answer when he asked, what did I learn? Because that's the only way I knew how to answer that question. But in the years since his passing, may he rest in peace, I have become confident enough in the field as a hunter that I have actually managed to take both buck and doe in single digits, mind you, on my own in different hunting seasons, not just rifle, but archery and flintlock. And if you didn't know this, there's only one other way to take a deer that's harder than flintlock, and that's with a damn boomerang. I don't advise you try that. But every deer that I've taken, I can think about something that a different hunter has taken the time to teach me, and that is my way to thank a vet and give them their props, because my freezer wouldn't be as full as it is with venison were it not for them giving me the few minutes of their time when they could be out there filling their own freezer. And after that first deer camp that I did not get a deer, but I did walk away with some education, you would think that I have taken down a herd of deer given the size of the hunting arsenal of weapons that I have at home now. Shotgun, archery, be it recurve, compound, or crossbow. Yeah, the Puritans hate me for that, but anyway. I have gone out from deer camp to pheasant hunting to fishing trips, and like you said, when he calls me up and says there's a trip, if I don't have a doctor's appointment or some other engagement scheduled, I'm the guy that's there, because I've gone from being that vet that needed POV to be my reason for getting the hell out of the house, because I did become that typical hermit veteran who, in some cases, people would think sit in a darkened room, naked, stroking my rifle and muttering, and maybe even stroking it and reciting the rifle creed, because that's what we Marines do. To trying to look at myself as that Marine, that veteran that is on these trips as a veteran to help another veteran who is out there for his first trip or whatever. And there have been quite a few occasions where my phone hadn't rang in a week and a half, and I couldn't have needed a phone call more than on that day that Ryan called, unbeknownst to me, because he needed someone to talk to. However, we were both on the phone in need of conversation. And on average, an hour and a half later, we're hanging up, both about to bed down to a decent night's rest, because we have been there for each other, and I couldn't thank you more. I made a point not to sit down and put pen to paper to write a speech, because I wanted to come from the heart in thanking you for both inviting me here and everything you've done with and for me up to this point. You have no idea how much it means to me to know that you wanted me here for the celebration. I don't know how I would have felt had I been left out. I gotta point that out, okay? Yeah, the ego is real, but but he thought that I was just here because of the food. No, I was coming for the cheesecake. I mean, yeah, that I thought was gonna be yeah. It only took one. I've been hooked since that first bite. Anyway, but I'm here, and there's nowhere I'd rather be. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate everyone else for being here and recognizing all that POV has done and will do in their future endeavors. Thank you.
I should note on another note, I've left out a few things. Monty points out that Bart Telford was a Vietnam veteran who served in the Navy. He became probably as much as Monty has become as an organization. Bart did too in that hunting trip. And unfortunately, Bart went on to battle cancer as a result of Agent Orange, and he even beat pneumonia after being on an event. He surprised by the world, being on an event for 6 weeks, and 3 days later he was up walking out of the hospital on his own 2 feet. If that doesn't tell you the resilience of someone who's been in service, I don't know what tells you. So in his honor, what we've done here at Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans is we've created a bird hunt. This year will be the 3rd year for the Bart Telford Upland Bird Hunt. We planned, before we were doing them in West Virginia, and we were traveling down there to a beautiful facility of 300 acres. Unfortunately, it was sold, so we had to find a new facility. We will be traveling in October to Tioga County for a weekend bird hunts. And certainly, I did invite Bart's late wife here today. Unfortunately, she works as a nurse. She could not get off. So I know there's a few people I do want to mention on the back of the flyer that I didn't mention while I'm at it real quick here. Sergeant Major David McCaw. He was our Sergeant Major for the 2nd 104th. A huge inspiration to me as a leader. And certainly he is a fan and always behind us 100% here at Pennsylvania Outdoor Veterans. Sergeant Major Nick Laser, he's now the Sergeant Major for the 5th 6th Striker Brigade Combat Team, and certainly I invited him, and he wasn't able to make it this afternoon as well. With that, I'm going to move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is our County Commissioner, Rocky Honor. Rocky's been County Commissioner. Certainly he's been an advocate for our veterans here in the county, and certainly reducing the number of veteran suicide and the crisis that is going on in this county. And certainly I welcome our County Commissioner, Mr. Rocky Honor.
And I do have one complaint. I'm on the back here as an honored guest. And I don't think I should be. I think everybody that gets help through his organization should be an honored guest. I just want to have something that I can relate to this. Probably, I won't give my age up too much, but probably about 58 years ago. I always, how can I say this? My uncle and my father were in World War II. And one of my uncle never came home. He's buried on foreign soil. And I can relate to this hunt thing because I hunted with my father. And when you got together, they hunted and fishing, they fished. And I think it was a little bit different. But when they didn't really talk about their experiences, what happened. And with what I'm hearing here, was that the first fish and hunt camp that people sort of started among themselves, and was that seen throughout the years that this is going to work? I don't know. When we hunted and fished, things were different. And I said, when they went to the side, or he might have looked at my uncle's picture, or somebody would have brought it up, he changed, And I'm glad that something like this, an organization is doing something like this. And I'm sure that we're hoping that 100 can come through here. But I think for myself, I would look that none would have to come here afterwards. And if only one comes through here, it's worth it. And that's just my feeling about the whole thing. And I said, I think that goes back to me as a kid. I've seen, I think, pain in people that came home, and it reflects all the way back to everybody. It's my aunts, my mother, and it's like, one person coming back can affect 50. And like I said, if they come through this place and you can help one, it's worth it. And I don't say too much, but, and again, I hope you got my point. And I do not have to be the honored guest on here. On the back, if you have a magic marker, you can cross it off. But I said everyone that walks through this door will be the honored guest. So thank you.
So before we do the benediction, I just want to say that certainly I appreciate everyone coming out. A logistical note, we are having a luncheon. I would ask you all to stay, please. We have plenty of food, tons of food that we ordered. Please eat. What we're going to do after this ceremony is we're going to divide these chairs. We're going to put the tables back up so that everybody can sit at a table and eat. Certainly stay, certainly take a look around the office and everything. We'll turn back on the loop. Keith will get it looped back onto the thing as to the videos that we have on YouTube as well. I think we just want, and at the end here is that we continue to bring hope to veterans. I will admit, and the board can tell you, and Lisa can tell you, that I'd like to be a lot further than what we are. I'd like to have our 22,000 square foot retreat facility in Central PA, and certainly be able to say that we have hundreds, if not thousands, of veterans coming through every year, family members and caregivers, and that I'm not fighting with logistic dates of here's 3 options, pick your dates and see what works, and trying to work around schedules and so forth to make things work. However, it is what it is right now. Mr. Farrar makes a point that one of those things, there are 2 soldiers out there, Chad and Mark, Chad Edmondson and Mark Baum. I have made it my mission that retreat center will be named in their honor. If it's the last thing I do on this earth, it is what I want to see happen. I think Sergeant Major Rhodes and Ms. Singer can attest to that and understand those things in keeping their honor and their life and memorial alive. So with that, no further ado, I would like to give it back to Pastor Tony for our benediction.
It has been an honor to be here with all of you. Looking forward to sharing a meal and having some conversation with everybody as well here. Now, with that, let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for your outpouring grace, love, and hope you provide through those with whom we share our lives. And as people come through these doors looking for the services provided through this organization, Lord, I pray that love may shine through. May you empower those who are in need of help, that they know they are not alone, that you're walking with them every step of the way through those that stride side by side with them on their journey. May you provide for them the things you see they need through those that are giving of themselves, their time, their talents. and that this brick and mortar building may represent something so much more, but the hope that we all look for. Now, may you bless the work done here. May you nurture us through this food and this meal and this fellowship which we are about to share. And may you walk with us constantly throughout this journey of life. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.